Oh.
Sorry.
We'll get started. We have a lot on the agenda this evening, so if you could join us, if you are able to rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you all for coming. We have 4 council members present tonight. Mr. Flinchberg is off and about, so he will not be with us. I will make a motion to go into executive session citing 1 MSRA 406D contracts.
Second.
Yeah, don't lean forward.
We have a mic.
We have new mics. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Don't we need to do it, Paul?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. As usual, no electronic devices with us, folks. We'll be back as soon as we can. Thank you for your understanding. I have a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Beautiful. Before we get going with the meeting, there's just a housekeeping issue that I want to bring up. Last meeting, it was brought to my attention by one of our counselors that the way we have been rolling with, allowing the public to speak on agenda items isn't in accordance with our charter. So when we get to specific agenda items, I will reach out to the public, look for your comments on those agenda items. Once it comes back to the council for a motion, that will end all input from the public. So again, we've been lax with that over the last few years, but since it was brought up, we will now follow that rule. Let's see, we are
Can
in,
you repeat that? I didn't quite understand.
excuse me.
What, could you please repeat what the changes I didn't.
So the change is, as soon as I'll use 25099, the town hall renovation update. As soon as we get that agenda item, I'm gonna ask if the public would like to speak on that. If you do, please come forward, you can speak on it. Once the public's done speaking on that and it comes back to the council, we make a motion to talk about it. That ends public input on that agenda item.
What about the public comment at the beginning of the meeting?
No, that stays the same. We will have public comment for items not on the agenda.
Right.
That's staying identical. We're gonna go there in 1 minute. All right, that takes care of that one. Now we will go with, do we have anybody from the public that would like to comment on something that's not on the agenda? Okay, Barry. Please step forward, state your address and name. Mr. Kenny.
Elton Kenny, 52 Agmanicus Road, South Berwick. I just have a question before we get going on the contract for Xfinity. How long does that run? Chairman to the town manager, please. Is that a yearly contract?
No, no, I think it's a 10-year contract. I'd have to look at it. I'll tell you exactly. It's not a year contract. We get paid yearly. They set the rates yearly, but the contract is I believe it's a 10-year contract.
Okay, you say you set the rates yearly?
Well, I should say, we don't set the rate, state set the rate. And then we get a check from them for using our poles in our town-owned property. That's what we get.
Right. So every time there's a rate increase, our home cost goes up like crazy. And for a lot of people like myself, that's our entertainment. So I would be very interested, if it's possible, when that comes around, to stick my nose in to see what it is.
I'll look it up and get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Anything not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, I will make a motion to move. You wanna do emails? Okay, yeah, okay.
We received a number of emails over the past couple of weeks. I'm just gonna read off, the names and submit these to Monique for the record. We received an email from Edward Batchelder. I'm not gonna attempt to summarize sentiment of these because it's kind of all over the place. We received an email from Edward Batchelder, 42 Farmgate Road, Scott Landis, 80 Academy Street, Deborah Cotter, at, 13 Waterside Lane. One from Danny Emerson, who did not write his address. Email from Paul Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. An email from both Rob and Super near 28 Mountain Road. Email from Kevin Finn, did not provide his address. We received some comments from Councilor Flingstrom in his absence this evening. We received an email from Melissa Costello regarding neighborhood exchange and public market agenda item. An email from Tamara Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. Pat Robinson, 46 Brattle Street. Did you want to announce this, Deerco? Oh, sorry.
No,
That's for later on.
I didn't think I was gonna get here for public comment.
Never mind, sorry, Pat. And then lastly, Sandy Grafiotis, from Memory Square Drive.
All right, excellent, thank you for that. I would like to move that we move
Mike,
agenda.
Mike? Like,
Sorry, I'll get used to this again. I'd like to move that we move agenda item 26-017 new business up, in front of the town manager's report.
Second,
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
I vote aye also. So we will move up the police union contract. Number one. Tim, anything you'd like to go over with that?
the contract, we did a countywide analysis. Determined that the police department was at, number 28 in pay out of 31 agencies. So we renegotiated their labor contract to reflect a 3-year contract. And I do want to thank the police union. It was a very productive and progressive negotiations. We finished it in the month of January. Everybody worked hard, worked diligently. The contract represents a 3-year agreement. There was a lot of language changes that resulted from personnel policy. That was the majority of the contract, and then their labor wages. And I want to thank the police union for being, professional and easy to work with, and, hopefully that they feel that we as a town have treated them respectfully and treated them the way that they wanted to recognize their professionalism.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on the police union contract? Okay, seeing none, I will move to accept the police union contract as written.
second,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
just thank you to Tim and the police department, and I know Don, you were part of those negotiations as well. Thank you all.
They're some of the easiest union negotiations I've ever seen. They were very accommodating. So, Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. You want to make next one? Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to move, 26-019 joint statement on ICE up on the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on moving that up?
The too much, sorry.
Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0, and we apologize if it's loud out there. We are getting used to new microphones. A good thing.
But they're new microphones.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, hopefully they can hear you. That's been the issue.
We will start out with, is there anybody that would like to speak from the public on 26-019 with the reminder that it will be a 3-minute time limit for everybody that comes up. We treat it the same way as public comments. Try to keep everything relevant and try not to come up and repeat what was done in front of you if you could, just to keep this moving along. That being stated, do I have any first volunteers that'd like to come up and speak on this? Come on up. We'll start in the back and move our way forward.
Thank you. Purnell Bailey, Black Swan Drive. Since we're in the business of making public statements, I'd like to include it with this, please. Comments from this body, opinions and concerns from this body concerning the multitude of murders, rapes, killings committed by illegal aliens on innocent US citizens. So if I would, I'd like that included as part of your statement, your public statement on this. Thank you.
Next.
Annie Bulger, Old Fields Road. We were here in April of 2025 to first talk about this. So I'm so happy that the town council has drafted this statement in the town. And I really appreciate the comprehensive nature of that. And if I could speak to the last speaker, those statistics don't bear out. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alicia De Los Reyes and I live at 16 Bittersweet Lane. And I spoke 2 weeks ago about my family's story. Just to give a short recap, I'm the daughter of an immigrant. I've lived here in South Berwick for about 6 years, but my husband has lived here almost his whole life here in Wells. And my father's family immigrated here from Cuba in 1961 after my grandfather was detained by the Cuban government. And though he had done nothing wrong, he was imprisoned and sentenced to death. And after that, my family had to leave the country. Excuse me. Growing up and hearing the story, I never imagined that this type of thing would happen here, but as we know, people have been detained in our own state. And I am really proud to be an American, and so is my family. My aunts and uncles and my father became doctors, engineers, architects, and teachers. And so I am concerned with protecting people, protecting families who are living my family's story, new immigrants, people who came here to seek a better life. So I just want to share my support for the joint public statement shared by the town council, town manager, and police department. This is a dangerous time for immigrants and for local law enforcement. And I applaud our town and police department's willingness to step up and protect all residents of South Berwick in a very complex and dangerous time. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mike Lasso from Paul Street. That move, Mike. Okay, Mike Lasso from Paul Street. I'm an immigrant. We came here from Eastern Europe, and my family went through, all kinds of hell. And I heard the stories as a child. And I'm all for throwing every murderer and rapist out of the country, empty the jails. But people who come here with a future in mind should be protected. I love this country. Thank you.
Hang on, so I got one right behind you, Rob. Sorry.
David McDermott, been up that road. First of all, I want to thank the council and Tim and the police chief, Pete Kruger, for paying attention to the fears of some of the people of this town and taking the time to put this policy statement together. We have a lot of immigrants in this town, people from away. Maybe a lot of people don't know them, but I know some of them, and some of them are afraid. And they're not murderers, they're not rapists. They don't break the law, they live here peacefully. We're talking about law enforcement, armed, masked guys in unmarked cars, picking people off the street and basically disappearing them. That's not law enforcement as we know in this country. So I just want to thank you guys for the effort that you put into this policy. Very simple. It says that you will, in fact, elected officials, town employees, and police honor your oath to the Constitution, protect the citizens of town. If you read the policy, that's basically all it says. Can't ask for more. Thank you. I hope it passes unanimously.
Hi, I'm Rob Berger. I live at 28 Mountain Road. There seems to be a very clear distinction that people don't understand terms. There's a big difference between an immigrant and an illegal alien. An immigrant comes in with their name, they sign their name, they go through the process, and they decide, and then the court decides whether they need asylum or whatever. What ICE is doing is getting rid of the illegal aliens, the ones that flooded across the border, that we don't know their names, we don't know their history, we don't know their background. That's who ICE is protecting us from. ICE is protecting us from the people that we don't know, not the immigrants. My family was an immigrant too. All of us are immigrants. This country is a bunch of immigrants, but you need to give your name. You need to sign up. You need to sign up for asylum. You need to go through the process. My neighbor out behind me spent 10 years trying to become an immigrant from Canada. 10 years, it cost you over $20,000. There is a process. We allow 1 million people a year to come into this country. And if you look at the amount of people that want to come here, we can't afford 4 billion people to come to this country. None of us have that kind of money. So what we are looking at is ICE is getting the illegal people out of this country. The ones that come across and we don't know who they are. That's what ICE is doing. And thank goodness ICE and our law-abiding police department are doing that because we need them. We need them to protect us. And that's what their job is. So I appreciate everybody's doing this, but we need to separate immigrant from illegal alien. That's the difference. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public?
My name is Paul Murphy. I'm a combat veteran from Vietnam, fought the communists in '68. And I'm a little bit upset about any idea that we were gonna hide these people who are illegal in this town. ICE is masked because they've been threatened and their families have been threatened. That's why they're wearing masks. Obama's ICE didn't wear masks. They weren't threatened like this. They're also a law enforcement agency, just like these heroes that we've got over here in the corner. They should all be working together to get these people their due process. And the fact that I hear that someone wants to call the police on ICE agents is absolutely ridiculous. This is America. These law enforcement people work with our federal law enforcement people. And it's disgusting to even think of what you want them people to do around here. You report that ICE is in the town. What's that going to do? Get all these crazy people to come and try to attack them? Try to stop them from doing their legal job? It's not right. Where was this body when they were pouring across the border? Where did you think they were going to end up? So just think about that when you vote on this. It's law enforcement, legal law enforcement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ma'am?
Melissa Costello, Boyd's Corner Road. It is my understanding, according to the agenda, that the requested actions to be taken on this tonight is to either vote to approve the joint statement as presented, approve with amendments, or take no action. The statement was just published early Monday morning. I'm not quite sure if this is supposed to be a joint statement and you are supposed to be the voices of the people in town. I'm not quite sure making a decision on the content of this statement allowed enough time for the citizens to read, digest, maybe talk about with each other what was written in this statement. I think it would be in our best interest to maybe, I don't want to, however, table it, take no action or whatever. I just think a little more discussion needs to occur with a little more feedback, because if you are going to do this, let's get it right the first time. Thank you.
Thank you. And there was another gentleman that stopped out back.
Brad Christo, Old Road. Wow, I've heard a lot this evening so far, and I think more than anything, when I read the statement, it sort of is clear to me that there's a lot of thought that's been put into this. Chief spent the time to outline what he felt strongly he could do and emphasize that clearly the department will be abiding by not only the 10th Amendment, which is specific to them, but also made it clear that we're here for the residents of this community. And I appreciate that the council built on that in their statement. And more than anything, I would like to feel as though the temperature lowers and we recognize that together, you know, as issues arise, we can solve what may need to be solved. But I think we have a nice tempo and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Seeing nobody here, anybody online? I'm seeing no lines there, or no hands. I will bring it back to the council for discussion.
Well, there's one.
Huh? We have one? Oh, yes, we do, sorry. Could you please state your name and address after you take yourself off mute?
Is
Yeah.
that me? It's
Yeah.
hard. Yes, hi. Tom Schnauber and Kimberly Smurler, 63 Witch Trot Road. I think it's okay if I speak for both of us that we very much support the statement as it's written. It does make clear that the Constitution and the constitutional, the way the local police department should behave under the Constitution is at the forefront. The statement also states that, I'm looking for the quote here, that being a place where all residents are treated with respect, humanity, and fairness. In contrast to what some of the previous speakers said, I do not believe that ICE has been doing that to residents. We've seen many evidence of that not being the case in cities all around the world. So I'm very happy that around the country. So I'm very happy that this statement specifically leads with that. And I'd like to thank the town council and the police for coming up with a well thought out and a statement that really reflects the values. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else online? Okay, we have another one. Maya.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to say thank you to the town council and the police department for coming up with such a well-crafted statement that I think is very clear, very easy to understand, and I'm very much in support of it.
Thank you. Is that Sandy? My eyesight's not that good. There we
Yes,
go.
yes.
Sandy.
Hi, Sandy Agrafiotis, Emery's Bridge Road. Very brief statement just to say that I greatly appreciate what the council, town manager, and police have composed. I think it shows a lot of thought, the way it's expressed, and particularly the use of the word resident rather than citizen was also very inclusive, which I think is a wonderful small point that was clarified. And I thank you for composing the statement. That's all.
Thank you. Hershey.
Thanks, Hershey Hirschkopf Sterling Lane. I just want to say I greatly support this.
We can't hear you, Hershey.
Pull your thing down, Hershey.
That work now? Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to say thank you very much to the town council and the police department for crafting this, and I am wholeheartedly supporting it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none there, now it's coming back to the council for discussion. Anybody want to lead it off?
I'll start and make a motion to approve the joint statement as presented in the council packet.
Second. Second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on how it's written?
I would just like to just kind of reiterate for everyone kind of the process that we went through to get to this point. So at our last council meeting, I think it was January 27th, we had heard from about 18 people or so, emphasizing their concern about federal immigration activity in this country. That then prompted the council to have a discussion about it, prompted us to then schedule a workshop that we scheduled with adequate time. We made the public, we made it, open to the public, emphasized to reach out to us with feedback, via email in between, and we made it very clear in our workshop last week of how this joint statement would be crafted. We received a statement from Chief Ruger that was used to kind of form the basis of this statement. There's one thing in particular that I want to touch on. We heard from a number of people who are really concerned about the language, directing residents to call 911 if they noticed ICE activity in town. And I just want to make sure everyone is clear that that instruction came directly from the police department and came from the police chief. That was not added on behalf of the town council. That was included in the police department statement. And then in our workshop last week, we also made it very clear that we would be making the public statement available midday yesterday, and we met that deadline to ensure people had adequate time to digest and provide feedback this evening. I'm really proud of this statement. I'm proud of this council for taking the action that we have taken thus far, and I absolutely will be voting in support of this statement, please.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, add a couple things. So just a couple things that I would like to say based on what we've heard tonight and through some emails that we've received as well. The term illegal alien is outdated. It's antiquated. It is still being used in some legal jargon. It is being changed. Undocumented immigrant is more humanizing. All of us can agree that we want safe borders. No one is against that. The reason this is being talked about and drafted is because laws and constitutional rights are being broken. A couple people commented tonight that there's a legal way to come into this country, and that is true. Asylum seekers in Maine have been taken out of state. That was a legal way to come into this country. Currently, our government is working to deport a 5-year-old who is also here. ICE's job is to enforce immigration law. Less than 0.5% of people in Maine fall into that category. I'm not sure why they're here. If they would like to focus on that, they have larger populations in different states. Another item that I would like to add to this is to bar federal immigration agents from using city buildings, parking lots, and parks that are operation. Bar immigrant enforcement in non-public spaces.
This is an overreach. Let's move on.
Yeah, no.
The 5-year-old isn't getting deported.
Point of order, we're not going back and forth. We're not going back and forth. We're not calling anything out. This is gonna be civil, no matter which side of the agreement you're on.
True.
Again. We're not gonna go back and forth. This is not how we run a council meeting.
Then don't lie to us. Then.
Sir, with the greatest respect I have for what you did in your service, this is not the time or place to go back and forth.
I know.
So please take it that way.
Keep lying to us right there,
Again,
okay?
we
Glad you didn't.
we went off track there. We deal with facts. The council deals with facts. We need to leave a motion at the door. So if you want to go back, Joel, go back. But we're not going to add right now, unless you want to table this item. We're not going to add anything to this.
Okay.
When we, my only comment, when we started this a couple weeks ago, or the discussion based on all the emails we were receiving, I thought it was critically important that the council and the police department would have a joint statement. I did not want us, I wanted a unified statement. I wanted unity within the town. And I think we did that. And that's something I'm really proud of, actually. that we came to that. I did not want a statement from the council and a statement from the police department, which may have been at odds. So I really would like to thank Valerie and the chief and Tim, well, the entire council for trying to get to that point. And that's why I'm gonna support the statement as written.
I'm actually looking for some clarity in this statement. There was some language that was in the original that was sent out that I highlighted for my comments back. And I think it was just rewritten to make it better, but I'm looking for clarity of this item. We intentionally use the word resident, not citizen, because everyone who lives here deserves safety and dignity. Can I get some clarity on what that exactly means by that statement?
John, also in reference to the phrase that you had originally asked us to remove, this statement was in here from the get-go.
Okay.
Actual draft, nothing was added.
Okay.
The statement that you wanted removed.
Okay, so. To me.
And this was also part of our discussion on Thursday. We literally had this discussion as a council about why we wanted to use the word resident versus citizen.
So. Where are we going with this? Because we've received a few emails about this, we've heard people talk about it. What is the council's view on what this means? Because I have mine and I want to make sure that mine is not wrong on what the council is, because if my interpretation of this is correct, I cannot vote for this because I took an oath. And my oath will not allow me to say it's okay for you to be here illegally or undocumented or what? Because I took an oath to uphold.
A person can be a resident of this community and not be a citizen.
I
They can have legal status, live in this community and not be a citizen.
I 100% agree with that, 100% agree. If that is how this statement is written, I'm okay with how the statement is written. That is not how I took it when I read it. It seemed like a workaround to me. That's just, again, my opinion. That's why there's 5 of us for tonight.
I'm quite happy with that sentence in the statement.
All right. Any other discussion from the council? Hearing none, I will move to a vote. Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote no. Motion passes 3-1. Moving on. We go to the town manager's report and comments.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council, members of the public. The report for the town manager's office for February 10th, 2026.
Gentlemen, if we could just keep it down back there, please. Thank you. Sorry, Tim.
The highway department is they've purchased 2,491 tons of salt and have used 1,800 tons of salt this winter. They've been taking care of snow removal on the side streets, been working on cutting down, eliminating dead wood and trees. Police departments had 3 arrests, 1 accident, and 158 traffic stops, and again, the highest amount of traffic stops in the county in the last 2 weeks. Fire department had 20 calls in the last 2 weeks, 49 year to date. All the fire officers are participating in incident command certification training. Thanks to a regional grant obtained by the Mutual Aid District Chiefs Association. Certification includes 40 hours of online instruction and 24 hours of hands-on practical training. Code enforcement, they've had 2 building permits, 4 plumbing permits, 2 certificates of occupancy, 7 inspections, 0 violations. Planning and economic development, community meeting on February 11th at 6 p.m. Tomorrow night, the Zoom link will be available online. It's information on planning for change page of our website under the community label. May 2nd, the economic development group is sponsoring a craft fair at Shoetown Park with at least 50 vendors. At least 50 vendors, so that should be exciting.
Wow.
And that's something new, and I want to thank Carlo for bringing that to the forefront and getting that accomplished here in town. DOT meeting on February 17th for the intersection project. The library had reports they had 1,161 visitors in the last 2 weeks. 20 programs with 186 people in attendance. They started accepting donations for a new seed swap program. Once it's up and running, people will be able to get vegetables, herb, flower seeds at the library to grow in their gardens. Ideally, at the end of the growing season, they'll be able to share some seeds from their produce with the library group, swap that keeps going for the future seasons. Author David Flory will be at the library on February 11th to discuss his new book, Negative Peace. Valentine.
Can you keep it down a little bit, please? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I request that you call order in the room and people listen to what we're talking about. We need to conduct our business. And we're not gonna compete against everything.
I don't have time for this, so it's not funny back there, okay? So you've been asked. I don't wanna ask again, so keep it down. Let's go. Sorry, Tim. I'm being serious, gentlemen. I will ask you to leave. I got a meeting to run. I'm half deaf and I can hear, so we're done. Tim, move on, please.
The Recreation Powder House has been open 18 days this season, has sold 1,623 tickets. This coming weekend, Haven Homes Realtor is sponsoring a free ski day. We'll cover the cost of all tickets sold, provide hot cocoa and cocoa bars, as well as activities and entertainment around the outdoor fire pit. For the seniors, Valentine's lunch is on February 11th with live music and a spaghetti dinner. From the assessing office, personnel and property declaration requests will be mailed out by the end of the week. This will be posted on the assessing page of the town website, on Facebook, and as always, questions and guidance can be directed to the assessing office. From the town clerk's office, they registered 283 motor vehicle transactions, 9 vital record transactions, 11 notarial acts. As of February 1st, there's a $25 late fee for all dog registrations. Under the Finance, HR, and Benefits group, budget review with department heads and updating the master budget. Under administration, we've done obviously continued budget reviews with department heads, worked on a police union contract and completing that. I attended the fire department banquet and that was a great time, and I want to thank the fire department for inviting me. We've had several town hall renovation meetings, keep moving forward with that, several meetings with the planning and economic developer on a multitude of issues and discussions. Had several conversations and calls with Dovetail, the group that we hired to be our town representative for the project, and basically discussion contract and where we're at with that. ICE meeting with Chief Ruger, ICE meeting with the town council, had an owner's update meeting on a town hall renovation. We're currently working on a draft of AIAF 301 agreement for Dovetail Consulting. Had department heads meeting. I'm sad to report that last week, our brand new police cruiser was involved in an accident on Wichita Road. He was going through where they were cutting some trees. The tree company was cutting trees. They apparently waved him on when he did. The branch that they were working on came down, crashed on the new cruiser. The officer wasn't hurt, thank God, but the cruiser has sustained $15,000 in damage. That's the brand new tire. Be out of service for at least a month, if not longer, which hampers our police operations because that puts us down to using the old cruiser. Chief's got that under wraps and he's working on that. The only other notable piece, I wanna recognize Chief Hamill. We've had 2 structure fires, not ours. We've had 2 structural fire responses in the last 2 weeks. One to Berwick and one to Rollinsford. Chief Hamill arrived at both of them first. Took incident command, ran the incident until the chiefs from those prospective towns got there. And were very successful in filtering the structure fires, dangerous fires. And I've heard from both those communities how appreciative they were that Chief Hamill was joining the squad. So kudos to him. That's my report for tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tim. Jen's good?
Jen's good, I did it all
All
here.
right, just wanna make sure. Moving on from there, we will go to the town council meeting minutes from January 7th, 2026. I would move that we accept them with a correction under public comment, fourth bullet down. Adding A to Melissa's last name and make it Costello. I understand Outlook changes it every time. Other than that, that's my motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Paul? Aye. Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the treasurer's warrant.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to sign the treasurer's warrant dated February 5th, 2026. In the amount of $1,152,229.05.
Second, we have a motion and a second on the treasurer's warrant. Any discussion?
This one does include the SAE 35 payment of $848,663.33.
All right, hearing no more discussion, we will go to a vote. Paul? Aye. Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. We have no reports and presentations tonight. Moving down to the first agenda night, item 25, TACO 99, Town Hall renovation update. Anybody from the public wish to speak on that item? Seeing none, Tim, I assume we're moving over to you for that.
Yes, thank you. So, the town hall renovation team met, as the statement says. We looked at, Council Flintstrom graciously worked out what looked like a detailed, program on start to finish from Dovetail on what we thought was a good estimation of time. And so then we added a round number to that, what we think it will cost. So out of the $750,000 was approved. We're asking the town council to approve $100,000 for the owner of the representative contract. So that shows, and within that, what we considered was, visiting here 1 8-hour day a week, additional meetings, travel, work, desk work from their office. So one time when we realized that they're not gonna be here, every week for the full 8 hours, but that'll be compensated, so some weeks because of the project, there'll be more time, and other weeks there'll be less time, so this is kind of a roundabout figure. We talked to them, and this is we feel is a safe conclusion that will give us the amount for the contract.
I'm in agreement on all of that. I was part of those conversations, and we spent a lot of time kind of working through how much time we anticipated the owner truck would need to be here to come up with this number.
I'll make the motion to allow. How do you want to do that?
Allow the town manager to sign the contract in the amount of $100,000.
I'll make a motion to allow the town manager to sign a contract to not exceed the amount of $100,000 for the owner's the owner's representative contract. Damn. Motion is second, any discussion? Hearing none, Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 4-0. Moving down to 25-100 food truck cart application. Anybody from the public wish to speak on that item? Seeing none, we will move down. DeCarlo, is that you? Yes.
Do we?
We need anything?
Comment.
Did you get any questions back from the council? That's what you'd asked for previously.
On the
Food truck.
food truck cart application.
Yeah.
None additionally, that you guys haven't received already. So I just made appropriate changes and putting forward for you guys to approve.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the food truck application as presented in our meeting packet.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, Paul?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also, motion passes 4-0. Moving on to 25-103 Railroad Avenue update.
I think it's okay.
That's you.
Yeah, I'm,
Yeah,
where you guys did.
I'd say you're gonna be up here a lot.
Just stay up there.
Oh, he was waiting.
Yeah,
for
you can-
any
you wanna
public
ask
comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any public, sorry, I apologize. Any public comment on the railroad Ave?
But you also might as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, please. Okay, so thank you all for having me this evening. As a reminder, my name is Carl Brown. I am your Director of Planning and Economic Development. My role here is you all make goals and I try to meet those goals. And so this is a part of that. You previously came into an asset on Railroad Avenue. We looked into it, make sure that we have the information on the phase 1 and phase 2 environmental reviews for Railroad Avenue, work with SMPDC to do a best use study. They came up with 3 options of how to develop the property. My goal for you all is to spend no money on the property. I'm just going to be honest. Some people might ask, well, can't we sell it and make money? It's a tax acquired property. You cannot make money from a tax acquired property. The whole point is to get it back into actual use. And right now the property is contaminated. So one of the biggest things for us is to make sure it's cleaned up for your community. So Railroad Avenue options, which we can go to the next page. Review of past actions is a brownfield site, which means that it was in manufacturing use. There was chemicals there. Chemicals are still there. Previously a factory that burned down and was never cleaned up. It was owned privately for years, but vacant since 1959. There's been 2 environmental site assessments conducted in 2018, phase 1 and phase 2, which is required prior to cleaning up the property. We acquired the property through tax foreclosure in 2020. SMPDC conducted a reuse study and remediation cost estimate in 2025 last year, and now council needs to make the decision on the future actions. So again, this is a part of you guys make the goals, and then I go out and do them. So options for the property, just straightforward. You can do nothing, and the property remains vacant and contaminated, not in productive use in the downtown. Future actions will be limited by increasing property values. More the property increases in value over time, the more limited your options become. The excess is returned to the prior owner, always, because it's a tax acquired property. So keep that in mind. The town can develop the property ourselves, but that requires you to do a capital project for the town's own use based on our future needs. So that is an option for you. The town can sell the property. Private property will be responsible for any cleanup. Option to put deed restrictions on use. So you can put a deed restriction saying, we're going to sell it to you, but you have to use it for these means, basically. Again, you cannot profit off of the sale. So the only use of selling the property that way would be just putting it into use and put restrictions on what they can use it for. Or you can do a public-private partnership, and you can direct development through site plan or contract. And that's always an option. Next slide, please. So staff does recommend a public-private partnership. Why? Because if doing it this way, you still have no capital or pre-development cost, nor maintenance costs. Contract can direct development and claw back for under or non-performance. So if you come into agreement with another developer and they're just sitting on the property and just waiting for years and years and years, you can have a claw back saying, okay, you can't do that. It fulfills community needs for cleanup and affordable housing and services by going this route, because previously you said that that's one of your priorities. Staff involvement qualifies as cost for excess property value, making it a better deal for the town and potential partner. The property is within the TIF district, so other tools are available to help develop that property. So next slide, please. If the staff recommendation is chosen, we would develop an RFP. The RFP would be approved by you all, the council. We release the RFP, we award the project to a partner.
We worked with the partner on an adequate solution on the tax acquired status of the property to get it cleaned up. On the legal side, draft and present contract to council. You all then would make an informed decision based on what we have in front of us. Then you would approve the contract and start the project. At that point, you are directing the development, but we don't have any costs on the line. And that's what the contract actually protects you for. And that's why you would have a contract for something like this, to make sure that nothing falls back on you. Next slide, please. So your next steps are either to authorize the development of RFP for council if you're going to the partnership, or choose an alternate option for those available, and I'll come back to you with how you can go with that. So as a reminder, this is a follow-up from the previous 3 presentations that we had on the Railroad Avenue property, one by SMPDC, one by me, myself, and an initial presentation on what we were going to do when we were looking into doing an environmental site assessment. So that's it.
Anybody have any questions for DeCarlo?
Obviously, I've been involved with this project when I was not sitting in the seat, but I still think it's an extremely worthwhile project. And I like the way that DeCarlo is proposing to proceed. I think people need to realize this is a long-term planning process. It's gonna take a while. These brownfields projects always do, even if you have a very firm sort of goal, long-term plan in mind. So, but I think the important part is we still have a contaminated site. We need to get it cleaned up. Redevelopment of it is the ultimate goal, but I mean, I think in the short term, that should be our primary goal. But we can't do that. We can't access funding unless we have a plan in place. We're not, I know a bit about the SMPDC program. You receive money from them and from EPA when you have a goal and a plan in place. They just don't clean up sites and hope for the best. So I think we need to establish a path forward, and I think it's, we're not locked into anything at this point. And with DeCarlo, I think there's a number of different options for funding that are out there, including the brownfields program, which could be significant. But other programs related to housing, our TIF funds, there could be a number. We haven't really researched all those. So I guess well, I would make a motion, I guess. So we accept the.
Feel free to make a motion, Paul.
That was a long way of saying I'm gonna make a motion.
Can I ask a question first before you do that?
Yeah.
So I'm in agreement on that we need to do something with this property. I like the idea of moving forward with an RFP. Question, as Paul just said, in order to be able to access cleanup funds to clean up, we have to demonstrate that we have a plan. If we go down this route to obtain an RFP, does that then put us on forward enough? That puts us then on a path to have a plan to then be able to say,
Correct.
We have a plan, can we get some money to help with this project?
Correct. And so the whole point of going this route is that I want to limit your exposure to any financial, anything like that.
Okay.
I just have another question as well with that. So if we move to the public-private partnership.
Yeah.
Are we able to limit in the RFP, the development being residential or business based on your recommendations?
Correct, yes. And that limit actually will come in, you would note it in the RFP on the people responding. And then in the contract, that's your hammer, basically. That's when you can ensure how the properties will be used in the future.
And again, the goal of this is with a public-private partnership, no upfront cost to the town.
Correct.
I think the other notion, and when we say public-private, it could be public or it could be nonprofit as well.
Yeah, correct, yes,
You may be partnering with a nonprofit.
Yes.
And we probably will have to partner with a nonprofit if it's affordable housing, so.
Yeah.
But we have a number of options.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to authorize the development of an RFP for council approval for the site at the Railroad Avenue location.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just process wise after this, so we'll put out an RFP, we'll obviously, whatever submissions come in, and then it'll come back before the council to review those plans and
Yeah.
then we decide to move forward.
Yeah, I do plan to bring an RFP, a draft RFP before you, and so you can review that as well. So it unfortunately, you guys are gonna be hands-on with this project because I want you all to direct where you want this to go. I'm gonna be providing options, but I'm kind of your helper, and then you guys make the decision.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hearing no more discussion, Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also, motion passes 4-0. Moving down to the next one, 25-106, Downtown Revitalization Advisory Committee Recommendation, Streetscape Power Infrastructure.
Page 102.
Anybody want to speak on that from the public? Seeing none, DeCarlo, come on up.
So, just to give an update, these next two items, 106 and 107, those are actually recommendations from your downtown revitalization advisory committee. They've made a motion to recommend these things, but it's basically, hey, this is in our plan. We want you guys to follow the plan. So for this one is the street state design standards. If you look at our road standards in our zoning ordinance and our other ordinances, they're very weak. And so any development that's going to be going downtown, if you're following our current regulations, you have no control over walkability or anything like that. In order to develop some streetscape design standards, you're going to need some help from engineers. So this is a recommendation from them to, when we're looking at our future planning for the next fiscal year, when we are looking at the allocation of funds for planning studies and things like that, to make sure that that's a priority. For me, that is a high priority if we're going to more design standards because of the state reaction to state laws. You're going to need something like that downtown. Basically, because if not, then you default to the base standards and you can't get to your endpoint. So that's their recommendation after looking at the data and looking at our current regulations that they wanted to put forward.
Question, where would said streetscape design standards live?
Traditionally, they either live in your zoning ordinance or they live in a separate ordinance altogether.
Like an administrative ordinance?
Or administrative, a different ordinance. Right now, I'm gonna be honest, it's a mess. If you have standards in your subdivision ordinance, but it doesn't live in your zoning ordinance. And so that has to be fixed. For certain situations, it points to the subdivision ordinance for that road standard. But this is talking about, if you're making a new road, not in a subdivision, then you don't go to the subdivision ordinance. And so there's a discrepancy right now within the current codes that does need to be fixed. And because we're talking about revitalizing our downtown and looking at new standards across the board, this is a priority because it goes right in line with your other design standards.
Is this something that like the Downtown Revitalization Committee would be recommendations on?
It would be in concert with your planning board because these would be land use standards. And so we do see, the Downtown Revitalization Committee can work with the planning board and an outside consultant to make sure that those in line. The planning board has a full plate. And so, this would act as a sort of a kind of a subcommittee that's looking directly at those standards that could afford the time to do so. I'm just gonna be honest, you have a lot of decisions to make before July. And this is the way to chop up that work.
Would these
standards apply town-wide, or are we focusing on the downtown?
I'm gonna be honest, your standards are so lax that you need standards outside of the downtown, and then you need standards for downtown. And so it should be, context, sensitive. And of course, if you're outside of the downtown, you shouldn't have these certain amount of standards that are making you do 8-foot sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, you don't have a difference between the two. And that's one of the problems, is that it's not context specific right now.
So it's sounding a lot like this is definitely going to require a decent amount of work from the planning board, downtown revitalization.
Correct.
Town council.
Yes.
We have a big, huge list of other things that those three bodies need to focus on between
Right.
now and July. This is coming up, this is not driven by LD 1829.
Partially it is.
It is.
Yes, because when you are talking about additional density inside your downtown and outside your downtown as well. And the potential developers coming in without standards, you're going to get a lot of density on substandard roads. Just what's gonna happen.
I'm trying to like distill this down into like action for us
Yeah.
in the near term. So you said something about funding and like an engineer, and we're going into budget season.
So, all right, so there's no action needed tonight. So this is just their recommendation that they're putting forward. What action comes is when I'm putting together my plan for the next year and for even a part of this year, that you understand that the downtown revitalization has made it they're saying that it's a priority for them to include that into our plan.
So we should expect to see like
Correct.
that prioritization and any budget presentation.
So this is how it's supposed to go, is that the idea is supposed to be put before you all, so you have time to digest. And so you have some time to think about, okay, this is a priority, and then we do our planning, and then you come to a decision point. And this is me getting everybody on track, basically from a development standpoint.
This to me this feels like a lot of really difficult decisions with a lot of people involved.
Correct.
And as soon as you have a lot of people involved, it becomes really hard to make
Correct.
decisions. So this seems to me like I would argue one of the bigger efforts that we have ahead of us.
Yes.
Especially given that it is not just village center, it's the whole town.
Correct.
And as this conversation goes, it's going to involve utilities too, correct?
Yes. Where are you gonna require the utilities to be in new developments, at what scale? If you're doing a 3-lot subdivision, are you gonna require them to put power on the line and everything on the line? Versus, okay, well, are you gonna do it for a 25-lot subdivision or a 100-lot subdivision? And so that scale really does matter. And our current regulations are not context specific.
What are we being asked to do here?
We are digesting.
You're not being asked to do. This is just information for the council.
Planting the seed that we have lots of work to do.
Good, yes, I mean, I think having streetscape design standards are a good idea, I'll say that.
Agreed.
So eventually DeCarlo's gonna come back to us with an ask. This is the predecessor to the ask.
Correct.
Okay.
Informational only.
Thank you.
The council.
All right, so
Is there any like mild direction or anything you need from us with this?
No.
So the next one. Yeah, moving on.
Similar story where we're digesting of new information.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the next one is the same exact thing. He's gonna come talk to us about underground power infrastructure, informational only. Does anybody in the public want to discuss or talk about or have comments on 25107? The committee recommending to us for underground power infrastructure downtown. Start out. I got that. I don't have the address memorized. Yeah.
Paul Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. I just got caught up and read the recommendation. I would just ask the council to be mindful of how much this will cost. You heard that before, guys? It came up before, and I know that the memo and the recommendation says as funding allows. But as history goes, you're gonna go for it anyway. But please be mindful of how much this is gonna cost versus the return on the investment. I understand timing is right, when you tear up the sidewalks, it's great. But let's look at the other projects we've got going and the loans that we have and how much we owe. Let's take a serious look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, DeCarlo, back to the mic.
That's actually was a good queue up, where the conversation actually went with the Downtown Revitalization Advisory Committee, so mouthful. Basically, they were saying it's a good idea, but you have to keep the money in scope and, you know, weigh your pros and cons with this. Right now, there is full awareness that, you know, we have an intersection project going on, and we're at a stage in phase 2 that it might not be fiscally prudent to include it in that, because you would have to go back with engineering and do that. However, if you know, the federal government comes in and said, hey, we now have new infrastructure dollars to do it, or something else happens that, you know, a big pile of money falls into our lap, then we should keep that at keep this at the forefront. This is a part of, you know, your future planning and growth. And once the street is done, you will have to wait a number of years before you open up the street again. But you know, if the money is not there, the money's not there. This is one of the things that they're saying is that, hey, we should really think about, you know, if it allows us to do it, then yeah, we would like to do it, but we keep the money in mind.
And nothing like this would be included in the scope of the intersection redesign anyways.
Not at this point, no. We're at the end of phase 2. This would have had to come in during phase 1. And so they would include it in their engineering in phase 2. You do have the option, I always want to be honest and very forefront. You do have the option to go back into engineering and alter that to include something like this, but it would push back your timeline.
We're getting stoplights. We are not going backwards. We're getting stoplights.
Hey, you guys make the decision. I just have to give you your options, good or bad. I have to give you the options.
Stoplights.
Yeah.
Took me 12 years, DeCarlo. 12 years of sitting here. We got stoplights coming. All right, everybody good with the underground power infrastructure? All right, moving on to 25-108, amendment to downtown revitalization plan. Is there anybody that would like to speak on that subject to the public? Seeing, no, wait, you got one.
My name is Jill Crosby. I'm sorry, I have a cold. So I'll see how I do here. Jill Crosby, I'm the Stewardship Director for Great Works Regional Land Trust. And this is in regards to the landing trail. I made a presentation to the town council several years ago. We're trying to do a trail from Counting House Park down to the confluence of the Great Works and the Salmon Falls River. And we've been working on this project for several years now, trying to go through the process of understanding the restrictions that we might have. And recently we realized that because of the resource protection zone, there's very limited things that you can do within 100 feet of the river. And the biggest thing that we've come up against is between the sewer district, there's a fence on the river and it's extremely narrow area. So the idea is to build a cantilevered boardwalk to get through that area. And the way the ordinances, and DeCarlo can explain a little bit better, the way the ordinances are right now, we wouldn't be able to do that. But my understanding is if it comes under the revitalization plan, there's an exemption, or like I said, DeCarlo can explain the details of it, that those restrictions would be waived, or I'm not exactly sure how he can phrase it better than I can, but, so the idea, so the ask is to, have a landing trail into the, revitalization, downtown revitalization plan, so that we can move forward with this trail.
Trail's an excellent idea, so DeCarlo, you're gonna come up and tell us how we're gonna get away with this?
We have.
Yes, oh, Mr. Landis, yeah.
Scott Landis, 80 Academy Street, South Berwick. And I'm just going to provide very brief context for the landing trail and how this developed, that little historical background here that it, as several counselors know very well. I was part of a group of local folks who were developing a replacement for the Vine Street Bridge after the state removed it. And we had developed a close relationship with the Timber Framers Guild of North America to develop a plan. We had a plan to build a timber frame covered bridge on that site where the state bridge was removed. We worked for a number of years to raise funds. Unfortunately, we did not come close to what we needed, and then we ran into COVID, which created some real challenges to moving the bridge project forward. At that point, we decided to repurpose, and the bridge, the funding for the bridge project was under SOBO, the umbrella of SOBO Central. And we decided to repurpose a small portion of the funds that we had raised for the development of the land, what we're calling the landing trail. This being the site between landings in South Berwick, and it is deeply historical. It is very close to the site of the first water-powered sawmill in North America, here in South Berwick. It has one of the most important historic archaeological sites on the adjacent property that's now owned by the Great Works Land Trust. That's known as the Chadbourne Dig. It is, of course, has an abundance of natural beauty and benefits, and would place a trail within the context of the downtown, which is a rare opportunity for recreation and appreciation of the environment. It's my personal hope that perhaps it might also create greater incentive once we have a trail taking us to a bridge that has not yet happened, that it might create an even greater incentive to actually build that bridge, which would then also connect the downtown to Hamilton House and Vaughan Woods, and create a corridor that would be a truly valuable addition to the town center.
You could also send the Eastern Trail down that, correct?
Pardon me?
The Eastern Trail could also.
Yes, the Eastern Trail used to go.
Part of that.
Yes, it was, and it was always, our design was always to create it as a pedestrian bicycle bridge, and was a site on the Eastern Trail. So thank you for green lighting this as opposed to red lighting. So I'll leave it there, but thank you, Carlo, for filling. Nice.
All right, so this is a part of the strategy that you all have laid out in your comprehensive plan, and on attraction of basically maximizing your assets. Your assets here are your public amenities, and specifically your outdoor spaces. What we're going for here is not to attract outside people as tourists, but to make it so you're getting a better bang for your buck. And so this amendment to the downtown revitalization plan, this is coming before you because the resource protection overlay in the shoreline does not allow structures within that 100 feet, except if it's a part of a downtown revitalization plan. And so in order for the trail to happen, you need to make an amendment to your downtown revitalization plan. But it wasn't a big lift for me because it's mentioned already multiple times in the downtown revitalization plan. So I was able to just go in with a scalpel and actually say it. You all have in the past in your documents been very hesitant on actually promoting your assets in this way in your trail systems through a strategy of protection. However, not having it in your plans is not protection. Having it in your plans is actually protection because then you can go towards, hey, this is an asset. And so this is why this is being put before you. The language is pretty straightforward on just saying that this is a part of one of the strategies. And so then it allows me to come back before you with an amendment to the actual regulations to allow that exemption that the state allows to be put in and codified for your ordinances.
So I have one question.
Yeah.
I'm for it because I want the bridge too. They have an excellent model. If you haven't seen it, reach out to Scott. Who owns property? Because this is where the fence is for the sewer district, correct?
So it's owned. So all of this property, the trail itself is owned by multiple parties, one of which is the town. So the trail would start at town property, would go by sewer. It also would go by a homeowners association that has an easement literally for this trail. And then it also includes the land trust.
So land trust, homeowners, town.
Yes.
Easy. So did anybody talk to the sewer district to find out if they're okay?
Yes, they
Good.
have. Yes.
All right. Mint, I'll make a motion.
I know this is part of like the larger plan and everything.
Correct.
To like get us added into it.
Yep.
Do we have any idea on costs for this at all, or is that not something we're responsible for?
Not responsible for it.
No.
We
No,
need to make it so that it can happen.
Correct. It's enabling legislation. It's not actually an ask financial ask.
So.
Yeah, one quick,
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Nicole, after we do this, or we have a public hearing, do you need to write a zoning change as well?
Yes, after you approve it and adopt it in your downtown revitalization plan, then I can write a zoning change. I can't do that beforehand.
So our process will be public hearing for the amendment to the downtown revitalization plan. Then we adopt the amendment to the downtown revitalization.
Correct.
And then that gives you kind of permission to adopt the necessary changes in chapter 140.
Correct, yes. I go through that process with the planning board, going through their hearing process and then going before you for your hearing process to.
Got it. Okay. So there's a long ways to go still before we get this done,
Correct.
but we're on the path.
Yeah.
So I move to vote, set the public hearing on 2/24/2026 at 6 P M in Town Council Chambers, 3rd floor, Town Hall.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Paul?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also. Motion passes 5-0. No, sorry. 4-0, sorry. It's already getting late. We're not even at 8 o'clock. Moving on to 2612 Neighborhood Exchange. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on this agenda item? We did receive an email on that. Thank you for that email. And DeCarlo, this is you again.
Okay, so this is, I presented on this at your last meeting. This is also a part of our strategy on adding new businesses to the town. So we have to have a conversation about taxes and about what actually impacts your tax rolls and increasing businesses. You can go two ways with attracting businesses in the town. You can go large businesses or small. If you go large businesses, they need more land. And if you have more land, you can have multiple structures on a single parcel, but that gives you less tax revenues than if you went small businesses on smaller parcels. So the more small businesses that you have in town, the more direct impact that it can have on your tax rolls. And so knowing that, we needed a strategy to actually attract small businesses. And so this is a part of that three-prong strategy of education, physical support and education. This allows people to basically have a way to graduate into physical space from home occupations. Instead of attracting, instead of only attracting those who are outside of the town to invest within your town, you have actually people with capital and who want to actually start small businesses within the town. However, they don't have a way without risking a large sum of money than getting into a physical location. This provides that bridge for you all on a pilot basis. So you can try this out and you actually would learn a lot more about your small businesses and what their actual needs are in getting there with those smaller parcels.
So I know Mallory had some questions that you answered through some emails.
Correct.
I'm gonna put you on the hot spot because I got a few.
Sure.
Would you have to go first?
I was just gonna, I wasn't gonna go through all of my questions, but just point out that I did sit down with Carlo last week for about an hour or so, and also sent him 20 or so, a lot of questions that I shared with the council on this topic as well. And so definitely just wanted to emphasize I did my homework and research over the past couple of weeks while you answer your questions.
I like to do mine here because it's more fun sometimes. I thought of a couple, just bouncing back around with this whole plan. Obviously I voted in favor of the other two items. I believe they're great. This one I'm struggling with.
Sure.
One, I'm still struggling with the Manning piece. Because if you're sick and your assistant is doing something else, who's running the shop? My other side is, I think we have some questions that need to be answered by legal before we can actually make this. Who's covering the liability of all the stuff in the shop? Who's, you know, my wife gives you a $5,000 painting that she did and it gets stolen, it gets ripped. Who's responsible for that?
So the seller is, and so that's why we're going this route for QR codes and sales. So this is actually a physical place, and it's a part of their agreement to be in the space. Is that if it is harmed or stolen, then I'm sorry that it is on the sellers and their insurance that they would have for their goods.
So we don't have any liability to those. We do have liability to the public coming in, correct?
Correct. And so this would be another physical space that we have. And talking with Jen and looking over insurance, we can get insurance for the location, and that's actually was in our pro forma. It's actually only $500, about $500 a year, because we're a municipality.
I will just in my conversation with DeCarlo and the questions that I had, I was a little bit hesitant on this topic the last time we met, needed some additional time. I think at this point, you know, the previous council, we did make a commitment to invest in small business last year. That's where these funds are available, is because we did make that conscious decision last year. And I hear what you're saying about small business and the fact that South Berwick has little to no commercial business, commercial tax base. This is a way for us to explore that, I guess. I'm going to support this simply for a number of reasons, but the temporary nature of this opportunity is, I really want to emphasize, that is the reason why I'm going to support this, is because this is a unique kind of perfect opportunity for us to try this on a temporary basis and see how it works. I think it's incredibly important that we have regular check-ins as to how things are progressing. And also I think it's incredibly important to have an after action review at the point in which we're considering potentially re-upping the lease. It is a little bit tricky because I when that timeline comes around, I am not going to be seated here. So those of you that for sure will be, I hope you hold you accountable there. I think that this is, as I've said, I think a very unique opportunity that all of the things are kind of aligning for us to give this a try.
So the lease. When the last time we talked, it was an 18-month lease, correct?
So we would be subleasing from the current, for the current occupant, and that's why it's so small. As you know, commercial leases do not go 18 months. So we're able to sublease in chunks, and in talking with the current owner of the space. So we're not talking about the shop owner, but the literal owner of the space and their agent. They are willing to sublease on our schedule. So right now, it actually would be only to July, our fiscal year, so we're not overlapping. And then you can make a decision to go forward. What also gives you another security that if things are not going well by that time, then you can pull out. And so this is also part of me limiting your scope, where this advertisement, for me to do advertisement for this scale, it would cost me a multitude of the amount of money that we're looking at here. And so that's why this is more attractive. I'm just looking at the value add.
That answered my, we can't sign a long-term lease through July, so
Bingo.
thank you, you got that one.
Yeah.
Last one for me. We are renovating the town hall.
Mhm.
We're building you guys a new office on the first floor so you could be in touch with the public.
Yep.
How am I gonna explain that to the public that we built you a new office and we're moving you across the street?
Sure, that's our administrative. So one, that's our administrative office, and in responding to the questions from both sides, I think that it might be an understanding of what my office actually does. So our applicants who come in for us, they're not looking for building permits. These are businesses that are looking to invest in the town, and so they're setting up appointments. With people who are having these larger plans, I'm not talking to Joe Schmo, I'm talking to actually engineering firms. And so engineering firms, they don't even want to come in here. So on a daily basis, the people that we get as walk-ins is it's around 0 to 1 on a daily basis. So that area that you see downstairs on the first floor, which is just literally my office and ahead of me is Brittany's office, that's appropriate for that scale. However, if we're asking people to come be educated on how to start a business and do a business plan, that space is not appropriate for that. And we're asking the public to come and learn about, plans that we have for businesses, that space is also not appropriate for that at this time. Now this allows us to learn if we need to, I'm sorry, but take over additional spaces within the renovated space for small businesses to interact here. But during the interim, businesses it still has to happen over the next year. And over the next year, because we have construction, it's very difficult to attract capital in the spaces that we're going to be in the interim, because we're going to be under construction. This allows us, because it's on a temporary nature, it allows us to use the space and to see what needs our small businesses actually have. And then we can reevaluate, do we need more space in this area or this area or this area because of their needs, because of small business needs. In a larger scale, if planning works on a 20 to 50 year time scale, I could work with you all to change the zoning on 236 and other areas to allow more commercial uses, which is another conversation we're already having, but you would need to wait 20 years for those businesses to actually start to show up through the private market. You don't have 20 years to support the tax bills. And so I have to think of ways to supercharge and shorten that time period in order to get more businesses in to actually impact and go to your goals.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
I think, I had written to Carlo too. I think the economic development side of this makes a ton of sense. That's what creative, progressive towns try to do with economic development, particularly if they're struggling to get it going. So I think it's sort of unique and I like the temporary nature of it. And the fact that if it's not, and I agree totally with Mallory, I think I really would like to see sort of some constant updates on how it's working, and is it working? I think my questions to you were more about what John referred to. I'm sort of old school. I sort of have believed, I thought that, a code office should be next to the planning office because there should be that kind of interaction. people come in for a building permit and the code officer says, well, in fact, that's a conditional use application, you gotta go see the planner. I don't know how often that's happening these days or not. But in any case, my concern was about losing that, having you across the street. Now, you sort of did say that you're not gonna be there for 40 hours a week.
No.
So, and I think that gives me a little, better vibe on the whole thing. So I think, and I guess I would, Tim, I'm gonna put you on the spot, I guess. I mean, I think from, the flow of town hall, I mean, are you good with this? Because I mean, I think it's important as far as the way the town office functions. And I think you made a recommendation that we do this, so,
Yeah, as long as, we just have to make sure, as with any legal contracts, our T's are crossed, I's are dotted. So, there's a couple things that we'd have to make sure for liability issues and purposes. Check with legal where that shows up, whether it's in the lease or whether it's our own liability language. So it's just gonna be, I don't think it'll be just as easy as the lease. My feelings would be, once we get this passed from you folks and we get the lease, we take all this together and send it to legal and have legal review it and say, are we okay? Is this everything we need? Or is there something we're missing that we need for protection? Once we get that, I think then that's worth doing. The other piece that was one of my issues was, at DeGallo, we talked about this with the contract, right? Or the lease, we can't legally authorize money past July 1st that we don't, not authorized to. And DeCarlo took care of that. He talked to, Mark, Barnes, and Mark agreed to a temporary or a lease till July 1st and then renew it. So, think outside the box and try it. I'll send it to legal and make sure everything's where it needs to be and go from there.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion, to allow the neighborhood exchange and public market program to be activated and to be funded by the downtown TIF dollars as outlined in the current fiscal year budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. Paul?
Aye.
Joel? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote no. I'm gonna be the odd man out again tonight. Motion passes 3-1. Thank you, DeCarlo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes unfinished business for the night. Jumping down to new business. 26-14 is the recall ordinance discussion. Is there anybody in the public that'd like to speak on that? All right, seeing none, I reached out to Tim after talking about this at our prior meeting and looking into it. And I know Councilor Flingstrom reached out that there was a state statute, which is great, but they don't always like relying on the state for how we operate in town business. It's not that there's any issues right now that we have, but if you look at surrounding communities in the past few years, there have been issues with counselors or chairperson or select boards, and we really have no way of removing somebody from their seat. I would like to have something in our ordinances to do it. I would like to throw on the table for discussion to have Tim look at some surrounding communities that have this, bring us a few examples so we can look at it, plagiarize it, and put it in our ordinance. So I will throw that on the table for the council to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to, Sam had sent us an email on it today. I would, I think he should be here for the discussion. I don't think there's any harm in having what you just directed him to do. I don't think it's a big, ask, probably just to sort of, I do know most towns do have recall ordinances. It would be interesting to know, what's involved, and my only concern with them is, what's the threshold for recall, for a recall ordinance. I mean, we don't want people, having this happen every 2 weeks. So,
well, no, that's the beauty of us being able to set the ordinance, right?
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'm fine with like sort of continuing the discussion on it. I guess the only other comment I would make is, I think if we're talking about recall ordinances and various things with elections and whatever we may be. Do we look at some of the things that came up in November when, a recall ordinance, or a recall process or, a recap, right?
Yeah, we can get down that road, we can put that on the agenda.
I mean, I would rather do, I guess what I'm saying is I'd rather do it all at once instead of, see where we end up.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And I understand that, but with all due respect, they're two separate issues. Recounts have to involve recount elections, and which is very specific to the clerk's office. And a recall election on the municipal elected officials, completely different things. They're two different things.
So we can put that on the agenda to get it up, because I know that was one thing that both you and Joel wanted to, and it was in your notes. So we can put it on the agenda to discuss, to get looking into it today, so.
No, I mean, with that, did we not defer to what we were told to do by the state?
Correct.
So, in my opinion, we followed what we are already doing with that.
I would ask the clerk to weigh in, and recall elections are governed by state recall processes.
Recount, sorry, we're talking about
Yeah, so my clarify point, we're following the state recommendation for recount.
Correct.
Correct.
We also should follow the state recommendation for recall, but I'm open to your comments. Or if we're going to change one, let's change it up.
So we're not looking to change it, I'm looking to clarify it. Again, I don't always like the state ruling. We have ordinances for a reason, we're a council, so I don't see the harm in the ask for Tim to bring us a few examples. We see what they are, we can compare it to the state one, and in Paul's view, we can change it, we can modify it however we want, based on the current situation, or based on our review. So, I guess.
And you could do the same thing with recount, with the recount stuff.
Right.
You could have the clerk research that and do that. That would just be at her bailiwick. That's more regulated by state voting regulations as opposed to a recall ordinance.
So I will make the motion to ask the town manager to get us a few examples of, a recall ordinance from surrounding towns or communities, and report back to us, and we can go over.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have some comments. I am supportive of considering a recall ordinance. I think, again, not because of our current situation, but more as a proactive measure. I think there are a number of communities, I think in Maine, that have seen one individual really wreak havoc on a community or a board, and I think that is a situation that we should proactively try to plan for and anticipate. So I think considering a recall ordinance would be appropriate, and I'm in full agreement with Paul. I think it's less so about, for the recount, it's less so about the process, like what the actual process is. I think it was more so the kind of moment of we were all like, oh, what are we gonna do? What happens now? And I think it was just it's a matter of just making that publicly available, like searchable on our website, so that if anybody's got any, that to me is, I think, more what needs to be addressed from a recount perspective. I'm on board with both topics. I know the motion on the table is just for the recount.
No, that's fine. All right, we'll move to a vote. Paul? Aye. Joe?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the Mount Agametica Steering Committee. Oh, is this the standard MOU that we do with Mount Agametica?
Yes.
Okay, so just for an informational, the Mount Agametica Steering Committee partner pledges contribution annually supporting the work that occurs at Mount A. The town contributes $4,250 annually toward the Mount A coordinator. And we send a representative to bi-monthly steering committee meetings. It's included to outline in face of good faith support for cooperation, resource sharing. The NOA is non-legally binding. We've been doing this I don't know, we've been doing this as long as I've been here.
1999.
Thank you. So yeah, Pat, it's in there. Public access to Sheriff Land in 1999. It's been updated slightly over the years. If you've never been to Big A, it's fantastic. The trails are incredible. They've done a lot since I was a kid going there, so I'm good with it. I will make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the updated MOU.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any conversation? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. Paul?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Mallory? I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. On to the York River Stewardship Committee.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Phil Brecky as a full member for the remainder of the term for the remainder of the term ending June 30th, 2026. He's requesting to assist in the process of filling the soon-to-be vacant alternate position on the York River Stewardship Committee.
I will second. Is there any conversation on this? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. Paul?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Mallory? Vote aye also. Moving down to one of the important items of the night, 26018. The liquor license for Fogarty's Restaurant.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for Fogarty's Restaurant. They are a business in good standing.
They are, and they are a jewel to the town, so I will second that. Any conversation? Hearing none, Paul?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. I apologize to the public for not letting you speak on that.
A jewel to the town.
Yeah.
They're not.
Their pies are,
Yeah, they're
their cheesecake is fantastic.
Dessert.
All right, moving on from there, council member comments. Sam, you're up first.
Damn.
Woo, Paul.
Sam,
It's my water bottle.
Is on the beat. Wait a minute. Yeah, just a comment on, LD 1892, yet again. 18 what? 20. That's why I couldn't. That's why I couldn't find it.
Keep catching, I apologize.
So I think, I know Brad has given us some emails. There was a public hearing today, I believe, on the bill, on the fix for the fix. And, as far as I could tell, the, fix did not include an extension. I don't know, unfortunately, we did, I think Mallory wrote an email, to them. I would like to, it's not too late to send an email before they have a work session on the bill, on behalf of the council to ask them to try to get an extension in there. And I just want to sort of, I will write that and send it to you guys, but I would like to get it to our legislative delegation and to the housing committee, so.
If you want to craft it, I would be all for you crafting it, Paul, and I will sign right by it.
I think the whole situation is, they just did the rule, which came out a month ago, which is like 50 pages long on how to implement the legislation. Now they have proposed legislation to fix the legislation, which hasn't even been approved. They're providing a grant program for towns, which we can apply for, but the money wouldn't be available until April. And in the meantime, we have a July deadline. So, it's not working, as far as timing for us. Town meeting towns have had a year in order to implement these changes. We have 5 months. So, I think, absent an extension, I think we need to, sit down with DeCarlo and Tim and planning board and figure out whether we can get this done or not, or maybe we do in fact need a moratorium. I don't know, but that's for a later time.
Can I just piggyback off of that on the 1839 point? I submitted testimony this morning, through the public hearing. I sent it to the council this morning. If we have welcome to use that as the language if we'd like, and really emphasizing the point, as Paul was saying, the way the legislation is written, it's as if, a town council form of government somehow needs to do less work than a select board form of government, and the same amount of work needs to happen. It seems like the timing difference is simply because town council form of government, we have the ability to enact ordinances on on our own, as we've discussed it at length this evening, whereas the select board form of government has to go through a different process, and so we've been given a different timeline, but it's all of the work required to craft the ordinance is still a considerable amount of work that is not accounted for.
Anything else? While you have the stage.
Oh, did you have anything more?
No, I'm
Paul?
good.
Sorry. Yeah. Paul and I hosted the first coffee with counselors on the 31st of January, the end of the month. We had about 10 people there or so. And I thought it was a good success. We had, I think what is important is that we had new people there, people that we don't normally hear from. So I hope that that's something that we can continue. I know Joel has signed up to do the last one at the end of the month in March. And I don't know, John, if John or Sam have any interest in doing that, go forward. But the next one will be February 28th, and it'll be the Joel Show. Tim, I have a question for you on that. The town council, we have a budget, a small budget. Can we use that budget to purchase coffee and snacks for coffee with counselors? Like if we have receipts, can we turn those in? Okay. Thank you. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Joel?
Yes, so only comment for me is coffee with counselors again for February 28th, 9:30. I received an email from a constituent asking to work to provide a space for people to start coming together and having conversations directed towards how can we advance the town. And that will be the topic I will be pushing on February 28th, but I also would like people to come and let me know your concerns, and I would love feedback on that from people. 9:30 in the morning here.
All right, so tagging into Mallory with our budget, just so everybody's aware, when we get into budget season, I'm planning on kiboshing I'm gonna put it forward that we kibosh the town council budget in order to try to save us some money. I don't mind working for free, so we don't utilize any of the rest of it, so that's my plan for the budget session. I just wanna, again, Tim, pass along to the highway department. They're doing a fantastic job. The roads are unbelievable in this town. Same way with police and fire. I know why the traffic stops are up, because I can't drive anywhere in this town, no matter what time of day it is, and not run into a police cruiser somewhere. Especially out back, which I really wish they'd stay in town and stay out of out back. But other than that, that's all I have tonight. I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate it. We'll see you all in 2 weeks.